Hi, this is Catherine at The Balancing Point with Dr. John here. And Dr. John has some very interesting things that he'd like to talk about today.
Hey, Catherine, good to be here with you. This is kind of fun. As you know, I've done hundreds of podcasts over about a 15-year period on pretty much any aspect of healthcare, traditional Chinese medicine. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine. I did a call-in show for about 10 years, which I loved because I would get to interact with people over and over from week to week, from St. Petersburg, from Moscow, from Australia, etc. So I love that show, and I'm happy to be back on doing a few more podcasts. Today it's going to be a little different. Usually I talk about specific health issues, and today I'm going to draw upon my almost 50 years of experience in facilitation, coaching, and teaching to talk about some specific things that relate to really where we are as people and as a culture. So for those of you that are just tuning in, we're doing this in early January 2021. So we are still in the midst of a COVID lockdown in California. 2020 saw hundreds, thousands of individuals and businesses go under, people in desperation. And so I want to give some ideas, some coaching basically, on what we need to do as individuals and businesses to get out of that mode and start recreating your life in an incredibly powerful way. You know, the Chinese character or the quote that's often used for crisis is dangerous opportunity. And that's where we are. There's a great deal of danger. A lot of people have been damaged. And out of that, we have tremendous opportunity. If you look in the business world, for example, you see many companies that have gone under. Restaurants in particular, healthcare practices, etc. But then you look at companies like Zoom and Peloton selling home exercise equipment, and their stock is through the ceiling. And we need to learn from that. We need to learn how to create and recreate our lives and our attitudes so that we can move forward and not be victims. So one of the things that is important is the old saying, it's not how many times you get knocked down that's important, it's how many times you get up. So you just have to get up, start moving forward, recreate your life more powerfully than ever, and move ahead. So, for an example, I'm the chairperson of the Acupuncture Advisory Committee for a major insurance company, a malpractice insurance company that insures medical doctors, acupuncturists, etc. And in our last meeting, one of the people who does the sign-ups for the insurance company noted that literally hundreds of acupuncturists have stopped paying for their insurance, have closed down their practice, and have gone out of practice in their minds permanently. And I'm going to tell you that if any of those people got good coaching, and I mean good coaching because there's a lot of bad coaching out there, but if they got good coaching and changed their attitude to use this as an opportunity rather than as a disaster, any of those people could have a more powerful practice than they've ever had before within 6 months. It doesn't take that long, but they'd really have to do that. They'd have to go out, they'd have to be coachable, they would have to work on their attitude and move ahead. This is just another opportunity. Again, in the Great Depression, there were more millionaires created than at any time in U.S. history. So yes, some people are damaged, some people become wealthy, and it's a matter basically of attitude. So I want to talk about that today. And as you know, I've coached hundreds of people in a wide range, real estate companies. I coached and set up the training programs for 3 of the fastest growing real estate companies in California. I've coached hundreds of individual agents. I've coached people in martial arts. I was the apprentice trainer for world martial arts champion, Peter Ralston, so I worked with people creating that. I worked on their ontological study, their contemplative work. I've worked with many small businesses, and over the last few years I've focused more on acupuncture because I'm an acupuncturist, a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine. I've been teaching in TCM, or traditional Chinese medical programs, for 20 years, and I teach in a lot of doctoral programs. And I'm going to say today what I say in every single class that I have taught over the last 20 years. You ready? If you're in practice, I don't care what the practice is. If you're in business, I don't care what the business is. You need two things. You need a mentor and you need a coach. You need someone that can coach you on the business aspects in terms of your life and getting your goals, etc., in order. And you need someone to work with that knows your profession and can guide you in that way. Now, sometimes it's possible to get both of those in one person, but you actually need both. One example, I worked with a fellow a couple years ago who was an acupuncture student, and I really cared for him. I wasn't doing much coaching at the time because I was very busy with other projects, and I became his coach and his mentor. He was very coachable. He did all the things that I told him to do that he didn't want to do, because that's what we're going to deal with. There's what works and what doesn't work, and what works is sometimes harder than what doesn't work. So he followed my directions exactly. He would send me case studies that we would go over. That was the mentorship. And in about 6 months, I called him one day, and I said, "John, so how many new patients do you have this week?" And he said, 10. And I said, "Good, you're fired. You don't need me anymore." So in 6 months, he had built his practice so that it was much stronger than the average practice that had been going on for 10 years. But he was coachable, he was committed, and he had a mentor and a coach. So my experience over the years, and this is across I noticed at first when I was owned real estate companies and I was training agents, but it's also true in other fields. About 10% of the people that go into the business or the practice are going to succeed no matter what. You can't stop them. You can't get in their way. They're going to make it. And about 40% of the people will not make it no matter what you do. You can't coach them to success. They are committed to their failure. That means, as a good coach, as a good mentor, you know that you're really teaching and training that 50%, and you can have all of them be successful. So that's really what I want to talk about today. About 2/3 of all acupuncturists are out of practice within 5 years, and that's unfortunate since 60% of them could make it with good coaching. Now, what we're getting down to here is, for example, a quote by Thomas Jefferson: "Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude." And that's absolutely correct. So that tells us where we have to start. Again, 40% of the people will not change their mental attitude. They will argue for their limitations. So what we need to do is work with the 50% to alter their thinking and their mental attitude so that they can achieve their goal. And so one absolute key is training people in the art of intention and the ability to create it, which is founded on absolute accountability. Now, I'm going to talk about those things specifically in a bit, but that's the key. You have to have intention, meaning that no matter what, you will be successful. Literally, no matter what, you'll be successful. And you have to have absolute accountability. You are the one that will make it happen. And so that leads to the flow of creation. Now, most people and many coaches approach this in what I think is the wrong order. To me, the order in this creative endeavor is you first must absolutely be clear and acknowledge what your purpose is. Why are you on the planet? What are you doing here? A good Mark Twain quote. He said, "The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you discovered why you were born." right? What is your purpose for being here? So that's the question. If you have not addressed that before, if you haven't looked into it, as one of my teachers would say, when is a good day to do that, right? And so that day is today. So take a look. What is your purpose? Why are you here? If you're an acupuncturist, what's your purpose in that? You didn't go into acupuncture to make money. I mean, hopefully you'll make money, but that isn't your purpose. So what is the purpose? Then, once you have become absolutely clear on your purpose, then you need to be clear about your vision. And by vision, I mean in all caps, not seeing with your eyes, but absolute clarity in your vision for your life. And one of the things I discovered in many years of training apprentices and working with other students is that just before, literally just before they communicated their purpose, there was always one thing that would occur. And at first it mystified me, and over time it became very clear. Every time before someone communicates their vision, they giggle. Seriously, they giggle like little kids. It's like I was working with someone and, we're working deeper and deeper into, what is your purpose for being here and what would that look like? What's your vision? And finally, he surrendered to experience that and he started giggling. And as soon as he did that, I knew we were there. And he said, well, I wanted to be Steven Spielberg. Now, the reason people giggle is when they see this vision, it's always bigger than they think they're capable of, right? Who could become Steven Spielberg other than Steven Spielberg? Well, what this guy meant is that he didn't really want to be Steven Spielberg. He wanted to be a phenomenal director of movies, right? But that seemed too big for him, partially because he was comparing himself to Steven Spielberg. So the first step is, again, to discover your purpose. Is it to save humanity? Is it to raise a family? What is your purpose? And then your vision. What would the ideal picture look like? And often you can look to your high school, your walls in high school. What posters did you have up there? What things that you have in your life that you dreamed of becoming or dreamed of being, but gave those dreams up because they seemed too big? Now, you have to go back to that. Now, you may not be Steven Spielberg, but that isn't really, really what you want anyway. What you really want is to serve a purpose. And only after you've discovered and clarified your purpose and your vision, only then do you set goals. Because any goals that you set before those will be misdirected. Right? Why would you have a goal that doesn't serve getting your vision and your purpose? And I'll tell you, if you don't have them serve your vision and your purpose, they won't be strong enough for you to actually achieve. So then you create your goals. Then you create a schedule. I like to work 3 years at a time. I have a 3-year plan that I lay out for the people I'm working with. And then that's divided into trimesters so that we're looking at the ultimate goal, whatever that is, to have a successful acupuncture practice, for example, but it's divided up into 6 different parts. What's your social contribution going to be? What is your personal growth going to be? What is your business level going to be, etc.? And so then we divide that into trimesters. So what's the first step that you need to take in order to achieve that goal that gets you to your vision that serves your purpose? So we need to then set the goals. Again, I like 3 years. That's long enough to achieve anything, except maybe becoming president. But please don't have that as your goal anyway, right? But pretty much any business goal you can set and achieve it within 3 years. Then you create the schedule, like break it down into bite-sized pieces, and then you create an action plan. I find that it only is effective if you do it in that order. Because otherwise, you could set goals, create a schedule, create an action plan, and actually on the rare occasions, you can achieve those things. But then when you get there, you're not satisfied because it didn't serve your vision and it didn't serve your purpose. So start with the purpose and work backwards. A great quote by a fellow that owns one of the top acupuncture website programs, a fellow named Lauren Brown, very bright guy. He had a quote, "Your actions follow your beliefs. When there's conflict between your heart, the subconscious, and your brain, the conscious, your heart will always win." So no matter what you think you're going to do, if it is not in alignment with your subconscious, with your heart, it'll be a failure. So you want to start with that heart and then work toward the brain, right? Purpose is heartfelt, vision is heartfelt, goals are starting to get into the brain, right? That's where you're starting to lay it out like an engineer, and then your schedule and your action. But always, always start with the heart and you'll be well served. Now, one of the specific problems with acupuncturists, and this is true of many fields, but acupuncturists I find in particular, is they've been trained into believing that making money is evil. Really. Now, if you've read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you can see, and I hope you have, please read the original, the first Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because it's a brilliant book in how we create and have created by our families and our social circumstance and beliefs, either patterns of success or non-success. And so a lot of acupuncturists make the mistake of believing that making money is evil. And they're usually not conscious of that. So they regularly undermine themselves. And in fact, there's tremendous jealousy in this field against those who are successful. In fact, I hear all kinds of weird things about myself because I am successful in what I do. I was successful immediately when I set up my practice. I've been successful over the last 20 years. And a lot of people become jealous of that. Now, just remember, money is simply a form of energetic exchange. You trade a bead for some obsidian. You trade a goat for a chicken. You trade food for acupuncture, which I have done, by the way. I had one patient who paid me in lamb bones, and I've been paid in all sorts of interesting ways. But then you trade money for food. It's just easier than carrying a bunch of goats around in your car. So you carry money, right? You carry legal tender. And by the way, the quote from the Bible isn't that money is the source of all evil. The quote is, "The love of money is the source of all evil." So have money, just don't love it. Don't believe that that's going to bring your happiness. Don't give up your vision. Don't give up your personal integrity for money, but use money for the ways it can be used. And I tell students this all the time who have a poverty mentality. It's like, look, make a ton of money and give it away, right? If you don't want to have a lot of money, that's great. But there are millions of people out there that you could help if you made money to support them. So do it that way. So I'm going to stop at this point because I want to keep these pretty short. So this is just a little introduction. I'm going to, in the next few weeks, go into very, very specific ideas about how to create your practice, about how to recreate your life, about how to move forward. And I highly urge you, if you're in practice, to find a mentor, reach out to someone, expect very little, if anything, from them, and give a lot. And that's the key. My wife is a master sports medicine acupuncturist. She's the acupuncturist for the San Francisco 49ers. She is the acupuncturist for St. Mary's rugby team. She travels all over the world to rugby tournaments treating people. And she got there because she apprenticed to her mentor, who was one of the top sports medicine people in the world over the last 40 years. And by doing that, she asked for nothing. What she did is she helped run this person's program. She taught for free for a very long time. She makes some money now, but she taught for free. She was always available and showed up. And so if you want a mentor, that should be your relationship. It has always been the relationship in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. Go, offer your services, and then watch carefully and learn from someone that has more skill than you do and more years in practice. And in terms of your practice, hire a coach. Now, one key about coaches, okay, and I've seen this so many times when I've talked to students, and I'll say, well, so what do you think about this coach? Oh, I thought they were awesome. I thought they were great. Oh, did you hire them? No, they were too expensive. Who did you hire? Oh, I hired this person. And I'll say, were they as good? I don't think so. Why'd you hire them? They were cheaper. Well, here's one really simple clue. If you need an attorney, hire the best attorney you can get. If you need a doctor, get the best doctor you can get. If you need a coach, get the best coach you can get, because it will pay off 100 times over in the long run. A good coach can make you successful in a few months. A bad coach may not ever make you successful. And so you want the best that you can get. And the kind of a simple clue on that is if you want to make $100,000 a year, say, well, if you work a 2,000-hour year, hours per year, which is typical, 50 weeks times 40 hours a week, that would be 2,000 hours. So that would be $50 an hour. So if you want to make $100,000, by all means, never hire a coach that makes less than that, because they obviously can't coach you to do something they can't do. Now, I've always paid very well for my coaches, and I've had people say, so why did you hire a coach? You've done coaching for 40 years. I said, well, that's why I hired a coach. I know that nobody can BS me like I can. You need someone to help hold you accountable. Pay for it. It will pay dividends 100 times over in the long run. So anyway, thanks, Catherine. I kind of went a little long-winded there, but we will be back in about a week with another podcast where I will go into more specifics and more depth about how to be successful in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.